Hey there everybody, friends, true believers, and newcomers alike. Welcome back to another video. I'm Superfly Comics Guy, and with the Spawn Origins collection books announced to be coming back into print at the end of this month and early next year, I thought now would be a perfect time to take a look at the Spawn Origins Deluxe Edition Volume 1 from Image Comics. I'll be showing you the slipcover itself, as well as the cover, the spine, the contents inside. We'll be talking about the build quality, some of the extras, and of course a flip through of this book where I can share some of my thoughts, opinions, and recommendations. So please, I hope you'll join me. If you like the video at any point, you know how to show it, and I always encourage you guys to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's dive into this colossal collection. So as you can see, this is a big boy. This is a big library edition style book. Image calls it a deluxe edition, but you can think of this more as like an absolute edition from DC. It's got those same dimensions. So here's the front. Here is the spine. This is how I would have it on the shelf, this part facing out. And then you can see a mirror image of the cover here on the back. You can see mine's not in the best condition because I did get this used, but still in pretty good shape. We can take the slipcover off. And you can see pretty much the same case here on the inside. The spine's a little bit different actually. And then the back, once again, mirrored image of Spawn's mask there. The version I have here is the signed edition, so it goes for $150 US, but I believe the regular version of these slipcase editions are around $125 US, I believe. But let's start taking a look at the contents inside. So here we are, time to crack open this slipcase edition of the Spawn Origins collection. Each one of these slipcase editions covers 25 issues of the original Spawn series, and look at that, we got a signature by Mr. McFarlane himself. This book has passed through the hands of Todd McFarlane. That will never fail to put a smile on my face, let me tell you. But yeah, as you can see, as I mentioned, this volume 1 collects 1 through 25 of issues 1 through 25 of a Spawn. But man, what a legacy to be talking about, huh? So we got an introduction here first, I believe by Todd McFarlane. Yeah, correct. And then we dive right into issue number 1, questions. And the cover will always be featured on the opposite side there, which is something I very much like about these big, giant slipcase editions. But man, by this point, Todd McFarlane had already made quite a name for himself. You know, he had cut his teeth working as the artist on The Incredible Hulk with Peter David as the writer. Even more so when he was working as the artist alongside David Michelinie on Amazing Spider-Man. God, look at the art in this book, guys. I'm just going to say it right up front. This is probably the largest reason for why you'll want to be grabbing this edition. The massive, oversized Todd McFarlane artwork. But yeah, back to what I was saying. On Amazing Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane had really revolutionized that title with his art style. And then going even further, getting his own series, The Adjectiveless Spider-Man, where he got to write and draw. And having that first issue, Spider-Man #1, becoming the best-selling single comic of all time at that point, definitely speaks volumes to Todd's influence at that time. But speaking of that series, you know, they gave him that book, that solo Spider-Man book, because Todd just wanted more creative control. He would often feel bothered that he had to stick so rigidly to another writer's ideas, another writer's story. So that's why they gave him that title. But, you know, he was still feeling the puppet strings up above him, even when he was working on that title by himself. because, you know, there came the infamous issue where Todd was forced to redraw a panel in which the Juggernaut got stabbed in the eye. And reportedly, that was the final straw for Todd. One day, he wandered into the Marvel offices and spoke to a bunch of his coworkers. We're talking some of the hottest names at that time, like Jim Lee, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, and more. And he said, look, guys, we're a talented bunch. Why are we putting up with all these restrictions on our heads when we can just start our own company and do whatever we want there? And, you know, Todd must have been pretty convincing, because that's exactly what they did. This group of guys quit Marvel and co-founded Image Comics together in 1992. The idea being that all intellectual property would be 100% creator owned, meaning that if you came up with something at Image, it's yours, but they would help you with the, you know, the publishing and the distributing. So, you know, the co-founders there, they got started on their respective projects. I think Jim Lee started doing Wildcats, Eric Larson started his Savage Dragon series, and of course, Todd McFarlane started Spawn. Undoubtedly the poster boy for early Image in those days, and whose first issue, Spawn #1, became the single bestseller of all time for a creator-owned comic. I think it sold like 1.7 million copies or something like that. Crazy. But enough about that. If you're more curious about the history of Image, I totally recommend you check out this documentary on Todd McFarlane that I enjoyed a lot. But back to Spawn. Now, who the heck is Spawn? Well, Spawn is actually a pretty early creation of Todd McFarlane's. I think he may have come up with the idea for Spawn while he was still in high school. He just hadn't done anything with the character since then. So Spawn, or Al Simmons, is a former CIA agent who was killed in action but is resurrected by the devil as a hellspawn, hence his name, and sent back into the world. Here you can see some of that trademark 90s artwork. We got cyborgs everywhere. I think this guy's name is Overt Kill. Yeah, sufficiently 90s naming. But yeah, Spawn does not know about his origin. He awakens as this hellspawn creature and has seemingly lost his memory and needs to figure out for himself what happened to him, what to make of all these new supernatural powers he has, and most importantly, what has become of those close to him, especially his wife Wanda, who I think is named after Todd's wife in real life, actually. Now, it's been a few years between Al's death and resurrection, and his wife has moved on, he finds out. She's remarried and even has a kid now. So should Al try to reconnect with her, or just, you know, leave her be? Now, either way, he still remains very, deeply protective of her and just wants to make sure she's safe and happy. So he patrols the streets of New York, taking out mobsters, criminals, even some paranormal entities to keep the city safe. But the thing is, he discovers pretty soon that there is a critical downside to his powers, and this isn't a spoiler because it's revealed very early on, that yes, he's incredibly powerful, he's got a wide range of powers, but the capacity of his powers is limited. Every time he uses them, that drains a little bit from the overall capacity, and if he uses up all of this energy, he will die a second death and then return to hell. And, this is periodically represented here by this timer throughout the panels. So now the question is, does he continue to use his powers to thwart evil, but then be forced to return to hell sooner and no longer see his wife? Or does he hold back on using his powers so that he can spend more time on Earth and see his wife, but then allow evil forces to become more prevalent? Now, I don't actually know the answer because I've only read these first 25 issues, But I'm intrigued to find out more, for sure. Now, Todd McFarlane doesn't often get a lot of praise for his writing, and sure, it's not going to win any awards here, but I still feel like these are interesting motifs and themes that he's touching on here with Spawn. It's all about how far would we go for the ones we love. But undoubtedly, the main draw is the art. This is why people will want this book. This is Todd being Todd, completely uninhibited. And even more so, he likes to make fun references in his art. Like there's a great bit in issue number 10 where Spawn gets transported to another realm, and he encounters all of these imprisoned heroes. How many can you name, huh? And then he's later escorted through the streets of Kitchener, Ontario. And I got to be honest, as a Canadian, it's pretty cool to see another Canadian city getting some representation in a big comic like Spawn. Now jumping into this extras section here, we do have a reasonably hefty amount of extras here, starting with this cover gallery featuring all of the inks of all of the covers in from issues 1 through 25. There you can see Todd McFarlane referencing his Spider-Man #1 cover there. Here, but with Spawn number 8. Super iconic cover that's been referenced time and time again in other series. But this stuff is incredible. When Todd gets to ink his own stuff, it's so iconic and distinguishable from everything else out there. And now moving on to just some general art in this art gallery here. Drawings of Spawn, like, oh man. Todd loves to draw capes, huh? Oh yeah, an excerpt from an issue where Spawn is hunting down a serial pedophile, and he gives him his just desserts, pun intended. Yeah. You know, I think Todd has gone on record as saying that, you know, he pulls a lot of inspiration for Spawn from himself. You know, what would he do in this situation? Would he make a deal with the devil to see his wife again? Of course. If he had these powers, would he protect kids from threats like, you know, that criminal Billy Kincaid? Yeah. Understandably so. And now we have some more color versions. Pinups. This is just wild. Is this one from the Spawn animated series? I feel like they used this artwork for the Spawn animated series. But yeah, Spawn's been in an animated series. He's had his own movie. He's been featured in video games such as, I think, was it one of the Mortal Kombat games or Injustice games? He was a guest character there. Can't remember. He's got his own line of toys thanks to McFarlane's toy company that he started. Crazy. But that's that. That brings us to the end of this extra section. So to quickly discuss build quality with you, this slipcase edition has 620 pages. Here you can see the eye. On my particular copy, the binding is in not so great shape. You can see it's separating there from the inner spine. I don't know if that's just my copy or if it's a more general issue to this slipcase edition, but something worth mentioning. Definitely have to fix that up at some point. But the eye itself is super good. This book lays over so well. Here you can see the spread page here, 0 gutter loss. And man, that's exactly what you want because the artwork is front and center pretty much all throughout this whole book. So if it wasn't for that one issue with the binding there that my copy has, I'd say this would be perfect. But just to wrap things up here, if you're a fan of the 90s, if you're a fan of Todd McFarlane, or if you're just curious about getting into Spawn, This format is one of the best ways to experience this series, especially now that these books are coming back into print so soon. But if large books aren't your thing, or the price is too steep for these editions, there are lots of other ways to read this material because it's also available in oversized hardcovers, which are about 12 issues each. There's the standard size trade paperbacks, which have about 6 issues apiece. And even the softcover compendiums, which have 50 issues each. That one is probably the best bang for your buck. But either way, if you're a fan of Todd McFarlane's art, Spawn is basically the pinnacle of that. But that does it for my review of the Spawn Origins Deluxe Edition Volume 1. Let me know what you thought about the book, the review, or about Spawn. Leave a comment down below. Real quick, I just want to mention here, this will probably be my last video for the year. Life is just going to get pretty busy for the next couple of weeks, so I just want to make sure I take the time to spend with family, friends, catch up on things, catch up on some reading, of course, but I promise I will be back in the new year to discuss more books with you guys. Thank you so much for the kindness you have shown me this year. It's been a great ride so far, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. But until then, have a happy holiday season, and keep reading, you guys. See ya.